Red?
Yeah, all good.
Okay. Hello everyone. Yes, thanks Henley for the opportunity to come here tonight. As you mentioned, my name's David Thornhill. I'm the Program Director for Greenfield Development at the Suburban Land Agency. And I'm here just tonight to give you a little bit of update on our new development, Jacka, in Gungahlin. So I may be familiar to a few people here in the room or online, because I've presented a few times before, but usually it is my colleague Andrew Griffiths who presents, who's the Development Manager Director for the Gungahlin area. So I'll just step through a few slides that we have here. Jacka in Gungahlin to the Gungahlin Community Council. I'm pretty sure we all know where it is. It's up in the northern part of Jacka. It's the last piece of the larger greenfield suburb developments that we're doing in North Gungahlin. Like a lot of the areas in Gungahlin, it's surrounded by nature. We have lovely nature across up on the top northern part of it. And we have it close to established amenities. You know, it'd be close to the Casey Group Centre, the Amaroo Group Centre, and the future Moncrief and Taylor shopping facilities. Our design process as we go through doing our estate development plan to get our development approval that we lodge with the planning authority. You know, we look at a lot of things in relation to the site to make sure we're designing it holistically and being quite in line with what the land was beforehand. We look at the topography of the area, the natural hills and ridges, look for where the trees are, the views that the estate has, the importance of water in the environment. Jacka is quite a it's got what's called a pediderm wetland over some parts of it, so water is a very important aspect of it, and then in Indigenous or European heritage aspects of it. What we have here, now the red, that's the little one. So Jacka, we call it Jacka Stage 2. It's the second stage of Jacka. The first stage of Jacka was developed some 10 years ago and is kind of down to the south part of the Horse Park precinct. This is kind of Jacka Stage 2, Stage 1, if that's confusing enough. Jacka Stage 2 is this top part, which is still under planning and development approval, but we're talking about this bottom part down here, which is Jacka 2 Stage 1. And our works are kind of be this residential component round through here. So we're going to have a site entry, entrance street coming into Jacka from down along Horse Park Drive. There's already the existing T intersection down there. We're going to have a community hub activity. We got like some land that's zoned commercial activity around there, and some community facility zones around that kind of hub, which is kind of where the two entrances that kind of come into the suburb kind of meet around that area there. On our future stage, as we move into Stage 2 that's kind of under planning, there's a hilltop park, there's a smaller pocket park, and there's a viewing area up around there as well. We mentioned ponds. We've got a couple of wetland ponds kind of going through here with some open space area there. There's some future playing fields that are kind of be down around this part here that are not part of the Suburban Land Agency's work. That would be undertaken at a later date by Sport and Recreation. We have the Bicentennial National Trail that kind of goes around the outside of the development front, and you know, we have the Elm Grove Heritage Precinct up to the north here, with down the bottom south there is the existing Horse Park homestead. So the ACT government, we're the Suburban Land Agency. As part of the ACT government, we deliver the government's indicative land release program. So the indicative land release program is set out by the Planning Directorate and endorsed by Cabinet, which sets out the forward years land releases that the Territory will undertake. So the current land release program has, in the 2022-23 year, 400 dwellings to be released, and in the 23-24 year, 280 dwellings, round about 680 dwellings. That's about the total development of what Stage 1 and Stage 2 of our development will be. Our Stage 1 development is around about 500 dwellings, and so we will be releasing those 500 dwellings this financial year. Importantly, as part of the indicative land release program, housing targets are established for various releases, and our housing target for this year requires us to deliver 19 sites for affordable homes and 20 sites for public housing homes. So I think I've covered most of this stuff here. Yeah, so when we deliver the land release program, we have 400 residential dwellings to deliver this year. we're undertaking 2 major releases. We're going to be doing a ballot for the single residential blocks, and then we'll be doing kind of what we call the terrace style housing, and the multi-unit blocks will be offered then later to the market later on this financial year through an auction and tender. Those sites there are more suited to your developers and builders more than the kind of general public. So this is a bit of the estate layout here. The kind of the yellow colour are your more standard residential blocks. As you go through here, the more darker colour are your multi-unit sites. There's the future local centre up there, which is that kind of community hub aspect of it there. Along this collector road, as you move down through here, you've got more of your terrace style housing fronting onto that collector road, and you've got stage 2 up the top there. Through there, you see there's quite an amount of open space between the Taylor and Jacka developments, but there is that connection into Taylor through Jacka there. The bottom one down onto Horse Park Drive, and the extension of Road and Cutler Drive that comes up and terminates around the dead end up here at Bonner will be connected and go all the way through to form another entrance into Jacka. Transport connectivity, I'll just kind of touch lightly on this. These blue roads that have been designed through here, being the minor collector roads, are bus capable. So they have been designed for a bus to actually go into this part of Jacka to provide amenity to the residents living through there. Yeah, I think there's existing intersection down here which we will connect into. There's already that road's connected through there, and we'll be extending the road around the side there. Yeah, bus capable roads and shared paths to allow passengers to easily walk and cycle to the areas from their homes. Road widths are in accordance with the standard that TCCS provide in relation to development approval. We generally have a 7-metre road width on our local access streets, so they're the homes that they're the roads that the houses are on, and our minor collector roads, which are the bus capable roads, around the 11-metre road width. Recreation and active travel. So part of our estate layout, one of our design principles was to really try and have walkability and connecting to nature, utilising a lot of the actual natural beauty of the area. So we have our street layout with a lot of laneways and all of that, so that residents can actually get into the open space and kind of walk through that. We have the layout promotes pedestrian permeability, key amenities connected to the path network. I think the main one there is the 5 minutes to open space. Each home will have kind of be within a short 5-minute walk, just some decent open space activity. Shared path networks throughout the suburb, which are these kind of dark lines going through here. They'll be the 2.5 metre wide shared networks, which allow for bicycles, prams and people to walk along those ones there. Parks and playgrounds, not the greatest image, no, looking down at 2D on these ones here, but there are a number of parks and playgrounds that we'll be doing in some of the open space areas. A couple of nature playgrounds up around in the stage 2 development, around the ponds and around the local centre. We'll be doing some more kind of playgrounds there. We've got a number of little pocket parks with some existing trees, so we'll be doing a lot of play space and activities in those spaces there as well. The playing fields, as part of our development, there's some netball courts that will be going in up there. We'll be doing building 4 as part of ours, with the future ones to be undertaken at a later date by Sport and Rec. And then this area here is kind of the Horse Park wetland area, where there's opportunity later on for future AFL, cricket and other sport requirements to go down through there. And car parking, would all that be undertaken as well? So what there are, yes, there's, as we go back, it's not the greatest imagery there, one there, but yeah, so you can see the car parks around the netball coming in off the Road and Cutler Drive. Another part of Jacka is the Horse Park Heritage Precinct, which is kind of the southern part of where we are talking, this part of Jacka and the northern part of the existing Jacka. This has the heritage listed Horse Park homestead on it and the wetlands. The site is being retained for community use, and the Suburban Land Agency at the moment are just looking at ways that we can go about how we can actually activate this for the community to actually make it a community asset for the residents of Jacka, the wider Gungahlin community, and the wider actually Canberra community in that space there. Key initiatives that we've put into the development of Jacka as we've gone through the development. It's an all-electric suburb, so we're not installing the gas reticulation network in the suburb. So it's part of the government's commitment to moving to all electric and the zero emissions by 2045. We'll be doing a number of energy and landscape rebates, so encouraging residents that buy in the area to landscape their grounds, putting in some decent sized trees and some shrubs, and also undertaking solar PV on the side of their house, and no energy demand systems and all of those requirements. We're investigating the opportunity for a community scale battery initiative for the community. We're currently in a tender evaluation for the first stage of the request for expression of interest on that one. And so that's an exciting opportunity that can come into the Jacka development of having a community scale battery. And we're requiring that it's as part of our energy rebates that all houses actually have the capability and design for future electric vehicle recharging. So our current program is we've just I think it was late last year, we went out on site and we turned our first sod out on site. So we've got this construction of the first stage of stage 1 underway at the moment. And so we'll be doing construction activity for about next 12 to 18 months as we move through that. We'll be doing sales release activity over the next 6 months of the financial year. And so then after our construction related activities of say 12 to 18 months, we'll start to see the house building activities start to go in, and we'll get the residents moving into Jacka around about that time then. That's a short and sharp, quick.
Thank you, Dave. I'm glad that buses can finally go into the Jacka suburbs, so I'm really glad with that. So with the previous slide, you talked about the rebate on the landscape and stuff. So because most of the blocks in the new suburbs are very small, so I'm just curious, what's the block size, average block size we are looking at?
The average block size, it's a mix of block sizes, but I'd say we're probably averaging around about the 450 to 515 is a typical block size that we're kind of putting into our estates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's good to see those sporting fields and stuff. So, and with the parks, it's really great to see those ones. But my question is, do you put enough toilets? Because I've seen in some of the parks and stuff, so you build a park and then people don't have enough toilet or parking facilities, and it's a big issue in Gungahlin. So I just want to make sure, do you have that mapped on your plans?
So as we kind of going through these ones here on the parks and playgrounds, they're very kind of conceptual at the moment. As we're going through, we're doing that detailed design activity work of it now. The public toilets that we would anticipate being in Jacka would be associated with the commercial offering up kind of around this area up through here and the local shops area there. I'd have to take on notice and check to see if any of these smaller pocket parks would be actually classified kind of destination parks like toilets. Yeah. Like we're not proposing any activity parks like this similar to the Moncrief Crip, which is classified as your destination car park, which has kind of toilets and car parking facilities. These ones are more utilised for the residents of the suburb here to walk to, as opposed to travel to from outside of Jacka into Jacka.
Okay, yeah, and if you can check on the sporting fields as well, because it looks like it's going to be a big one with multiple things. So if you can check on that, that would be great as well. Do anyone have any questions? Yeah, Josh?
So just one question.
Yep.
Just in relation to the suburb going up, with the development of the area, is there allowance for an increase in the size of Horse Park Drive to a dual lane carriageway to accentuate the increase in traffic?
I'd have to take that one on notice and refer it on to Transport Canberra City Services. As part of our work as Suburban Land Agency, I'm not aware of anything like that, but I'm not, and I know when they're doing the planning work for it, they take into consideration when the new suburbs are coming on. But as for timing or plans or anything like that, yeah, I'd have to take that one on
that's a good
notice.
question, because I want to ask you about that as well, because at the moment our spot is kind of a mess, and we're talking about the development happening in the Casey. There's a big apartment that's going to come as well in Casey, and then when Taylor get, at the moment it's still in progress.
It's about
so
half full,
it's
yeah.
going to be a big issue. So I think if you can get back to us.
Yeah, holistic experience so far has not proven that the expansion of Horse Park has kept up with the development of the suburbs,
Yeah.
and thus Horse Park is becoming increasingly clogged in that single lane carriage area.
Which is the way between
Taylor and
yeah,
Jacker.
Yeah, Taylor and Jacker,
Yeah.
around to Casey. Yep.
So
I'll take that
I'm
on
hoping
notice.
that would sort of be included in the development of that area.
Yeah, look, as part of our work, obviously, we know they do the traffic generation studies, but it hasn't been coming back through us of any kind of off-site capital works or anything that we've had to take into consideration, but it might be by Transport Canberra City Services.
What's the expected price on your $450?
That's the magic question. So, Suburban Land Agency, we determine, and our legislation requires us to sell land at market value. So we get independent valuers that actually provide a price determination of what the sites are, and that informs our selling price. At the moment now, we haven't released information on when our first ballot and all that is going to be coming out. So quite shortly, that information will be coming out, and all that will have the prices for it then.
When these valuers make their valuations, is that made public?
Look, the actual valuations. No,
When
I
the
wouldn't think
valuations
so.
determine what the value is,
Yeah.
right? These magic numbers that they come up with. How can we see how they did their calculations? Can we see that? Can we see that information?
Look, I'd have to take that one on notice. I suppose that would be, the commercial and confidence stuff of the valuations providing. Like, it's not part of my business, as in I'm not part of the process that goes through how the valuations are undertaken and how the valuers go through and what they use to determine, the valuation price for it.
It would be.
But it'd be.
It would be very interesting to find out how they actually go about doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose it would be, like they're registered valuers, so they'd probably have their registered bodies and requirements on how they actually go about undertaking valuations. Similar if you're selling a house, or getting a house valued for a mortgage or something like that, requirements. But yeah, I'm not a valuer, so I can't comment. Yeah.
Thanks, David. I appreciate
No
your
worries.
time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for coming again.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, once again for joining us tonight. And with that note, we'll sign off. And thank you for all the speakers for tonight. Some of the action items that we want to do in regards to the policing and stuff. So we'll follow. We will follow up, and we'll post on our Facebook and our website. So please stay tuned. Thank you very much. Have a good night. God bless. Bye.